This video illustrates the use of quotes and their effects on strings and variables within a bash shell. There are four quoting mechanisms. There's the single quote, which is considered a hard quote, which ignores the $sign and does not reference a variable. There's the double quote or a soft quote, which ignores all other special characters except the $sign. And there's the back quote or the back tick or just the tick. And this actually executes a command within a subshell and then captures the output to be used in the current command. This is also referred to as command substitution. And finally, there's the backslash or the escape, which instructs the shell to ignore the next character following the backslash and to ignore its special meaning. First, let's take a look at the creation of a variable. I'll use a variable weather, and we'll set it equal to the word sunny. So what I'm doing is storing in RAM the string sunny with a variable reference name of weather. Using the echo command, we can echo out $weather, and we will see that the shell reads the $sign as an indication to go look for the variable weather and return the string. If I was to put single quotes around weather, around the $weather, the single quotes are the hard quote, and the shell will not interpret the $weather inside, searching for the string and the variable and returning the string for that variable. But double quotes, using double quotes, it will go inside the double quotes, look at the $sign, look at the variable name after the $sign, and return that value. But if I used no quotes up here, why do I bother using the double quotes here? Well, one reason would be if we wanted to define, say, a new variable, call it new weather, which is equal to the current weather and dry. So let's say I wanted to say the weather is sunny and dry. Well, this command will give an error because of the spaces between weather and the word and the word dry. So what we would need to do is combine the string $weather and dry using the quote. So because the space is a special character, we now have to use the quotes to group multiple words when they're intended to be used as one instead of as multiple arguments on the command line. So now if I type echo $new weather, we can see that it is sunny and dry. But if we come back up to this, what happens if we put multiple spaces? Instead of just one space between each of these words, I'll put a lot of spaces. If I echo out $new weather, what you will see here is that sunny and dry, you only see one space. What is happening is the shell is stripping out the extra white space or multiple spaces between each of these words. And so when we echo it, we do not see it. However, if we quote using the double quotes around the echo command, you can see that the multiple spaces are kept, so they're not stripped out. Normally, when you're working with variables and the echo command, you would want to make sure that you put quotes around your string so that you maintain any white space within the string and it doesn't get stripped out and replaced by a single space as it did up here. Now there might be a case where you have a string where you need a $sign. So like for instance, let's say that we wanted to echo out a string saying Mike owes me $20. Alright, if this was the case and I run this, my actual output is Mike owes me nothing. And the reason for that is because the $2 is interpreted as looking for a variable $20. Or looking for a variable in RAM $2 instead of looking for the $20 which I intended. And so there's confusion here. I was looking for a $sign, but the shell is interpreting the $sign as, hey, go look for a variable called 2 and return that value, which because it doesn't exist, I get nothing returned, and then I'm just left with the 0 tagged on to the 20 here. So what we want to do to account for this is use the backslash. By putting a backslash here, I can put Mike owes me $20. Now, hopefully you also have thought that using this example at the top here, $weather, what I could have done is just put single quotes around that and not use a backslash, and I could have got the same result. So why do I need the backslash? Well, there's cases where, let's say I have a variable somebody, and so I say, okay, somebody, we'll put Mary here this time, and then I wanted to echo and say $somebody owes me the $20. In this case, I'm using a $sign to reference a variable, the variable being somebody, which was defined here, and I want the $sign both. And so I'm in the same string, I'm using a variable and I just want a $sign. So therefore I need to use this escape. Likewise, I may want to use quotes inside of a quote. So I may wanted to create a string saying somebody said hello. Okay. Now, since we have multiple quotes here, there's some confusion. So what we would do is escape the inner quotes, and then we could create a sentence where Mary said hello. And so we're using the escape to escape the inner quotes. We could also, if we go back to the variable reference where we said new weather is equal to this one here, where it says new weather is equal to $weather space and dry, and we got an error message. Okay, we could have used a backslash in front of each of these spaces to escape the space and say the space isn't a special character, it's part of the string. And so instead of using quotes as we did here, we escaped the spaces and used no quotes. Typically you would put the quotes in, but at times it's actually easier. If we only had, say, one word where we wanted to say, okay, well, new weather is equal to very space dry. Now this, of course, is going to create an error. Now we could put quotes around this, and we have new weather is very dry, and that works. There is no error message. However, if we do that, we had to type in two extra characters, a quote at the beginning and a quote at the end of the string. However, if we put in a backslash around that space, we only have to put in one character, and yet we still get the same result. So if we type echo $new weather, we get very dry. So we've looked at the single quote, the double quote, and the backslash, or the escape character. The last one we'll look at is the tick. The tick says to execute a command. Now, if we look at the which command will show you where a command is. So let's say that I wanted to know where the who command is. If I type which who, it shows me that the who command is stored in the USR bin directory. Now, if I wanted to do an ls-l of the who command, I could type ls-l/user/bin/who, knowing where it is at, and I will get a listing, the long listing showing me permissions, ownership, size, and modification date of the who file. However, knowing that the which command will figure out what this path is for me, I can type ls-l tick which who, and what it'll do is it will execute first the which who command, which will return the result of the full path to this command, or to this file. In this case it's a command, but we're just looking at it as any file. And so we're doing the ls-l on the result of the command which space who, and that will then give us the same result. But the difference here is I use the command which space who to find out where the path was, and immediately executed the next command ls. So the which command is a subcommand which is executed first. It returns a value, in this case user bin who, and then the command ls-l user bin who is executed, because the output of the which who command is put in place of the whole command and the ticks here. We can also use this to capture output into RAM. So if I create a variable, well, first let's look at the who command. If we type who, we can see who's logged on, and we see 4 entries of the user Bob being logged on to this system. So if I say who's on equals tick who, what's going to happen is it's going to run the who command, which returns these 4 lines, but instead of showing it to us, it's going to take that output and store it in RAM under a variable who's on. Okay, so you see that command worked, but the output was captured and put into RAM. We can now then use an echo command, for instance, to view the contents of that variable. So first I'm going to quote and $who's on, and we can see there is exactly the same output that I got from immediately typing the who command. So this is telling me that in the variable who's on inside of RAM of my shell are these 4 lines, including all the white space. Again, just to iterate, if I run this command without the quotes, we see the same output except for the spacing and the new lines, everything considered white space. White space is multiple spaces, tabs, or new lines. And that is all stripped out, and I get one big line returned. What happens is, in the variable, I have stored all of this data. But when I echo it out, the shell strips out the extra white space because I did not use the quotes. Alright, this video covered the use of quoting inside of the bash shell. Again, we have four types of quotes. We have a single quote, which will ignore the $ but quote other special characters. We have the double quote, which ignores all those special characters except the $. We have the back quote, or the tick, which will execute a command and substitute that command back into the main command. And then we have the backslash, which we can use to escape any special character on the system. But for each special character on the command line, we will have to use a separate escape if we need to escape more than one.